And just like that, the community wants Unchained banned. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. I swear this community has no idea how to physically understand this card game some days. Because just because a deck tops one event doesn't mean that it's truly ban-worthy. A deck wins an event, it's suddenly ban-worthy. Oh my gosh, how dare all these pro players. I already read a comment earlier from an Unchained duelist. They're like, I can't believe all these pro players are just ruining my casual Leaf Fun deck out here. Now you guys are going to get it banned for me, and this is so stupid. Shame on you competitive players. How dare you do this to me? Alright, I'm sitting here, and I'm like, you are complaining because people innovated the deck, people figured out the perfect ratios, and they brought the deck to a higher tier of competitive play versus something that you or anybody else has done up to this point in time. We knew that the new support was good. Pack led, the innovation line out here for what this deck could actually do. But you look at this today, and you're just like, nope, shame on you competitive players. It's your fault now for having us duelists wanting this deck banned. It's the full circle of, what's the meme? There are two duelists inside of you, but they're both horrible, so you don't have a chance of actually ever getting better at this game. I don't understand it. All right, I get right now that you look at Unchained and you're like, wow, how dare Kashtira, up to this point. Kashtira, I mean, the Kashtira with a Rise Heart would kind of pressure the deck a little bit, and they'd be like, oh well, this kind of stinks, I can't really, I lose my graveyard, and shuts off a little bit of my combo lines, and that was kind of like the check that it was. And then they kind of started to see, hey, we can explore the DDD combo lines out here. Oh, hey, suddenly these problems that we were having weren't necessarily problems anymore. And if we've learned anything from this, it just takes one power-up for a deck to suddenly explode. Now, are there natural checks in the format right now? Because, Dark Hole Raigeki doesn't help this. Actually, you Dark Hole Raigeki them, they're going to go, hey, thanks for triggering all my floaters. You got a couple of methods to kind of beat this deck. The first is just outgrind them, but you're dealing with infinite floaters out here, so maybe trying to outgrind them. That's the old mentality of, I'll just outgrind Yang Zing while they have 20 Yang Zings in their deck, and they're all floating, and your opponent's laughing. No sensible deck should look at trying to outgrind this. Instead, Rika Sun Avalon kind of disappeared. Once again, the avatar disappeared when we needed it most. This was actually a hilarious counter pick that we'd actually seen, because I watched for the online regional Rika versus Unchained, and I just saw an Unchained player. They were just like, you're distributing my stuff. What am I supposed to do? Well, first of all, all of the Unchained cards in the world, they want to float. They want to be destroyed. They're like, yes, blow me up. It's a standard anime trope, cartoon, old Looney Tunes thing, where, they're seeking destruction to find, the better extensions and things that they can bring to the table. But Rika's just like, nah, I tribute you. Now what? Tributing for cost was, one of the extra methods of things to kind of bypass this. So I think that's kind of important to consider, is you have a natural check in the format, which is Rika Sun Avalon, but one natural check doesn't mean that things should naturally exist in the way they are. And I think the biggest thing that's got this deck doing its thing right now is infinite floaters. I don't know if people realize this or not, but I feel like we've gone back in a time capsule with the game. Now hear me out for a second, because basic floaters in the game were problems years ago. I.e., if you look at something like Yang Zing, where they would just infinitely float and then they'd be able to capitalize on something, you could never really clear the board. And, we return back to Book of Moon. We're back on the power creep cycle, spinning our wheels here for the next best thing. And now we've entered back into the stage. We just saw Book of Moon ramping through this format here. And you have now Unchained, who just is infinitely floating everywhere with good combo pieces now that matter with these interruptions. Yeah, I would say going back in time. And that, I think it's a good thing. I think it does prove that people are exploring things. So why seek for the next best deck? Oh, how dare us need to clean up Unchained at this point in time? Well, the biggest thing is people don't like when they can see something coming out that actually changes the game. People are afraid of the unknown, and Unchained was budget for how long at this point in time? Actually, I think Unchained was one of the cheapest decks that you could pick up. At the beginning of this set, you could pick up Soul Lord Yamas for $5 to $7, and people looked around at that. They're like, oh boy, my Unchained core that I spent nothing for, suddenly has gained all of this value. Literally, it's a story of rags to riches, where people spent these, I think Unchained Soul Abominations Prisons, or whatever they were, I think they were like $1 or $2 when this deck came out. I think you could pick up the Unchained core for $10 at that. And now you fast forward here, I'm seeing higher rarity Unchained cores, $100+ now? The Ultra Unchained cores from previous sets coming in at $50, $60 on the secondary market at this point in time. So you're telling me that not only did the budget players get something out of this, now all of a sudden, how dare you? How dare Unchained is a problem? We got to do something about this. And it's like, no, we don't. All right. The biggest thing that I've seen from this is if you cherries the Soul Lord Yama, oh boy, Robbie's back on cherries again. Like, they do kind of have a little bit of an issue playing. I mean, they can still set up boards. It's just, Yama is everything to the deck. Oh boy, who would have guessed that? When you have one of the best floating packages, get, a card that facilitates all this extra floating, it's good. Also, if you're worried about the deck, just make Red Eyes Dark Dragoon 5-head. The powerful might of the 4,000 attack point untargetable boss monster that your opponent's gonna stare at and go, yeah, just go play Brandon. Just super poly their field. They're all darks. They're all just there for you to go ahead and do your thing with. Like, what's the problem here? All right, there are outs to it. It's just, I'm gonna reference the old True Draco scenario for the old YCS that we had, where so many people just cited for True Draco for so long, and then people one weekend just stopped citing for it, and all of a sudden True Draco ran through the entire event, and people were just like, how could this happen? I think it's a little bit of the same thing here. We've had the deck building up so much. This deck has snowballed so much that players weren't prepared for the onslaught of it. I think the representation for the deck was very strong. We actually saw some innovations from Pack, which I think actually contributed a lot to the big success of the deck. You cannot underestimate those new additions that are being piled into the deck, because those little lines of play do matter. And I genuinely also want to blame unpreparedness. I think we already said that, but I think the fear of the unknown and the unpreparedness are some of the biggest things that make people just automatically go, ban it! No. 1 week is success. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe if this ends up being a consistent thing, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that the Konami staff is probably smiling right now. They're probably happy to see that, Kashtira just got punched. I know a lot of the community should be very happy that Kashtira just got, cashed me out back. How about that? Like, the deck has been such an annoyance. And honestly, leave a comment down below. Tell me, if you've played, Kashtira, do you actually enjoy playing it? Like, do you actually enjoy going through the Kashtira combo lines? Because I'm not gonna lie, I don't. Alright, Kashtira is such a boring deck, fundamentally, to sit through, and it amazes me that people would consider that fun. But I mean, I'm a dirty runic player at the end of the day. My fun, some other people look at and they're like, oh, you're a terrible human being. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, can you go ahead and mill 14 cards for turn, please? Oh, you lost your Eradicator? Get good. Yeah, so stop calling for Unchained to get banned. It's been a week. Chill. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back at the end of the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.